We do have another live press conference going on. This one is out of California, Corona, California, where they had that movie theater shooting where one person on life support, another killed during a showing. Let's listen and hear live on Live Now from Fox.
Can you tell us what led you to this suspect? Because that was kind of a big question. Nobody, as of yesterday, said heard a gunshot or saw the shooting.
Right. We're not going to release specifics to that, but there was witnesses that came forward that provided us information that led us in the direction of the suspect.
Can you tell us if there were witnesses that were in the shopping center or witnesses who knew the suspect and suspected he had something to do with it?
They were just witnesses in the area. I don't have the specific information if they were actually in the theater or not at the time.
The tickets that were bought were they bought online? And is there a way that you were able to track down some of the people who bought these tickets, that they bought them online?
I don't have the information for that either. I wasn't briefed on that, so I'm sorry, Rob.
Can you go back to what you just said about that he was in possession of a ticket? What do you mean by that? And do you have any information that he might have hopped from theater to theater?
I don't have any information regarding the theater to theater hopping, but the suspect was in possession of a ticket to be in.
For that movie? For
yes.
that showing?
Yes.
And what is the robbery part of this?
I don't have that information either. I just saw that the charge on the screen, and that's what they've arrested him for.
Did you recover any of the victim's personal property at his house?
One moment. The robbery. No, we're not. There's no motive for this crime at this point. The robbery is part of what happened during that crime.
So he took something, but you don't know what.
Yes. Brian?
Did you recover any of the victim's property at the Envoy residence?
I don't have that information there. I know there was additional evidence that led us to believe the suspect was involved with this crime.
Does this suspect have any violent history?
Not that I'm aware of.
Or criminal history at all?
Not that I'm aware of.
So he is not a registered gang member?
Not that I'm aware of, no. The gang task force was used as a resource to apprehend and find and apprehend.
Do you know if the gun was legally obtained or if it was stolen?
I don't have that information either. That's part of the investigation. We're going to start tracking that down as well.
Can you describe the gun, please, like 9mm or?
No, I don't have that either. I know it's a handgun, and the casings matched the weapon, matched the caliber of weapon.
What time did the shooting occur approximately? Was it in the beginning of the movie, the middle, the end? I know that you had said yesterday that it wasn't until the lights went up, so to speak, that the victims were discovered.
Yeah, yesterday, sometime after the movie was stopped playing, the employees found the two victims. I don't know if it occurred during the movie or after the movie. We're still working to determine that as well.
The ticket, is that something that he had on him or in his home when he was?
I don't have that information either. I just know that he had a ticket for the movie itself.
What's the latest on the status of the second victim who's in the hospital?
Still life-threatening conditions and critical, and we haven't had any further updates as of yet, but we're hoping to have some more later this afternoon.
And how would you describe the relationship between the two victims?
We know that they knew each other and they were friends, and that's the extent of it. We don't know if there was anything more specific beyond that, excuse me.
You said you were looking for a surveillance video yesterday. Did you find video of the suspect at the movie theater? And also, you touched on this a little earlier, but I want to clarify, was he with anyone, do you believe, at the movie theater, or was he by himself?
He may have been. I don't have that information. The video that could have been recorded was not recorded at the movie theater. None of the cameras were working or recording at the time. And the ones in the shopping center didn't provide any information for us either.
Did he drive there? Does he have his own car? Did he drive there, do you think?
I don't know.
You said the cameras weren't recording at the time. Were they operable?
I don't know if they were operable, if you actually see a view on a TV screen or not. I don't know. I just know they did not record.
They didn't. Okay. Okay. So your detectives had zero surveillance video from within the 18-screen theater.
Essentially, yes.
You still don't know. I think you were asking. You still don't know who was in the theater. 6 tickets were sold, but you don't know if the other folks were in there at the time of the shooting.
Correct. We're still working on that to determine who was inside the theater before, during, and after.
Can you say anything else about what led you to this suspect, whether someone might have provided a tip or a witness might have led you? Because I guess that's one of the big questions that we have. It seems like really good detective work to come up with a suspect that quickly when it, not even really saying whether these tickets were bought online. It's like, how did you come up with this guy?
Without jeopardizing the investigation, Rob, I don't want to say specifically, but I'll say that we have witnesses that came forward to lead us in the direction of the suspect to help identify him.
I mean, in terms of the motive, this guy just out of nowhere walked in with a gun and just shot him.
Unfortunately,
We haven't found anything of their house, we have no clue.
there's no indication there was any kind of motive or reason why this actually happened.
No argument.
No argument, no disturbance, no contact with the victims prior to, during, or after the movie that we're aware of at this point.
Is it possible that this suspect was hired by someone to kill the woman and shoot the other man?
I have not heard that, and that's not part of the investigation that I'm aware of right now.
Can you
No.
describe where the victims were in the theater or where they were found?
They were found near or on their seats.
And do you know what part of the theater? Or?
I don't. I just know they were in the theater somewhere. I don't have the specific seat location.
Do you know any statements or any incriminating statements during his arrest?
The investigators didn't brief me on any type of statement that he may have given under Miranda, so that might be able to be brought out later on, but I don't have any information on that right now.
Do you know if the gun was hidden or was it kind of in plain sight?
They didn't get specific with that either. They just said that during the search warrant, they located a matching gun and caliber with the casings at the crime scene.
Does he live by himself or with parents? Or?
I don't know either.
Do we know how many people were inside the movie theater that day?
There was a total of 6 tickets. To say whether or not there was extra people in there, I don't know.
Toby, people are scared to go to the movies there now. What do you want to say about that?
I would say they're safe to go to the movies now. In fact, yesterday I planned on taking my own children to the movies prior to this happening, and I would still continue to take my children to the movies as well.
Will there be extra security measures put in place at that particular theater?
That's going to be a question that Regal and Edwards are going to have to respond to. We're not aware of any extra measures that they're going to be providing for their venue.
Arraignment for him?
Arraignment, I don't have the hard date, but it's going to be within a couple of days. I can get that after the fact for you.
And I know you said you don't have a motive, but as far as the victims, did you know of any threats against them? Did their family say of any kind of weird things that had happened recently? Or?
No, not that I'm aware of. There was nothing to indicate that anything like this was going to happen to them.
I asked an earlier question about the violence in this movie and whether that played a role, and I think you said it didn't. Is it still possible, or is it you just don't have any evidence to suggest that at this point, or you emphatically ruled out that the violence had absolutely nothing to do with it?
I can't say rule out, but I can say that we don't have any information that's leading us in that direction to point to us that that person went, or the suspect went there to do whatever it was that movie was portraying.
And all 3 of them are from Corona, all within, a year or 2 of one another. Are you saying that you know that they didn't know one another, or you just don't know whether they knew one another?
We don't have any information that says that they know each other or have ever met each other before. So,
Do you know what high schools they went to?
I don't. It's one of the 3 local high schools, and maybe 2 of the local high schools. The families would probably be a better resource for that. What school they go to?
Do you know how many shots were fired?
I do not.
So he was taken into custody at what time?
I think it was somewhere around 8 p.m. last night he was arrested.
And that resident, or it was a residence?
It was a residence in a 19,000 block of Envoy, E-N-V-O-Y.
And what is that?
Just want to say thanks again for being here with us on Live Now from Fox. This incident did take place on Monday night around 11:45. Corona police had gotten a call for 2 victims who were suffering from gunshot wounds inside of the cinema. And unfortunately, one of those victims pronounced dead at the scene. The second is still fighting for life inside of a local trauma center. We're going to send some of our folks off into a quick 2-minute break as we continue to listen into this update. They do now have 1 suspect in custody at this time.
What direction is your investigation heading now that there's been an arrest?
It hasn't stopped. We're still continuing the investigation. What's going to come after this is whatever the coroner determines the manner of death was, where the bullet wounds are at. That'll be part of the investigation, and any other tips and witnesses that come forward from here on out, if they have evidentiary value, or even if they don't, they'll be added to help the investigation in any way possible.
So again, you're saying that this suspect has no priors?
Not that I'm aware of. I have not seen a criminal history statement for this suspect.
So he could have priors?
There's a possibility, but I haven't seen any kind of criminal history for him yet.
Lance, maybe if you could do this, but make sure, I just want to make sure we know all the things linking him to it. We've got the gun, the ticket to the movie theater, witnesses placing there. Can you kind of go through all the things that you have kind of connecting him to this?
Okay, so the evidence of the scene, the casings that we found inside the movie theater, the gun that matches the caliber of casings we found inside the movie theater, the witness statements that led us to help to identify who the suspect is, and I think there was even an anonymous tip in there somewhere that helped guide the direction of the investigation. Beyond that, whatever was said or not said under Miranda with the suspect, if he spoke, is going to be part of the investigation, and we don't want to jeopardize that right now. So we may release something more specific a little bit later, but right now we're going to keep that close.
Is there a potential for other suspects, or are you pretty sure completely alone?
We're really sure that he is acted alone in this, like 99% sure that he was the sole suspect in this crime.
And he did not work at the theater for former employee?
Not that I'm aware of, no. No, just an attendee.
Do you have his date of birth, please?
I do not.
Can you get it for us?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you for your patience.
The jail wants since he was arrested, he was straight up.
All right, so police wrapping things up there, but just want to reiterate exactly what we do know at this time. Here is the mugshot for Joseph, as again, he is the 20-year-old who's been arrested, suspected in this deadly double shooting. It occurred during a showing of The Forever Purge inside of a movie theater in Corona earlier this week. Now, detectives had, with the police department, had issued a search warrant into a home, and so they were led then to the suspect's home after they had done a lot of witness statements. And while they were inside of that home, they were able to discover a firearm and other evidence that then connected and identified him to the shooting. And he was then arrested and taken into custody. Again, unknown the reasoning behind this incident. And unfortunately, as we said before, one victim pronounced dead at the scene, while the second victim was rushed to a local trauma center where, again, they do remain on life support at this time. So there is, once again, one person booked into the detention center at this time, charges of murder, robbery with a gun, and attempted murder, and he is being held on a $2 million bail. So if there is more developments in this story, we can, of course, bring that to you here on Live Now from Fox.